Hi folks, it's Andy and welcome to today's Kendo rant. First off, apologies for the quality of the video. It's another low quality video because my phone's died. So I'm filming this on my webcam on my computer. So sorry about that, first off. So a bit of a short video today because I'm super strapped for time. Probably not going to film one tomorrow either, but I'll do my best to be back on the horse on Thursday. I will do my best to get back to him. So, okay, let's get straight into these questions. Hi, a rather broad question. I started doing Kendo. I just started doing Kendo. My senpai tell me that I am way too tense during shiai. I tend to lock my joints and as a result have a slower strike. Shiai practice within my club usually goes very well. I get my fair share of wins, but whenever I go to the seminar or tournament, I start losing against opponents my level or weaker than me. Any tips on relaxing during shiai? Okay, so it's very, very difficult because obviously, as we talked before, relaxing in Kendo is actually one of the hardest things to do anyway. It's really, really hard to stay relaxed. And when you have the added pressure of like shiai, then that all goes out the window. Whatever you're trying to do to relax, you know, it all sort of goes out the window after that. So it's more of a mental thing than a physical thing. So there's not a lot of kind of training you can do for it. Like, you know, like if you generally tense or stiff in Kendo, doing loads of kirikaishi and uchikomi can really help that. But the sort of additional stiffness that you get, the additional tension that you get in shiai it comes more from a mental place than a physical place. So there's a couple of things you can do is, and this, as I've said before, you need to just get more experience. As you said, you've just started, so just keep going to more and more events, and you'll get more and more used to them, and I think you'll find it happening less. Also, the other thing is try and visit more dojos if you can go to other dojos that are elsewhere nearby or you know in a similar region to you. That will definitely help with it as well. Just practicing with as many people as possible, and you'll get because you'll get to know more and more people. Even outside of your normal Kendo circle, not only will when you go to one of these dojos, you'll feel that sort of same or similar sort of nervous situation that you do at shiai. So it's good kind of experience for that. But you'll start to get to know more people. You'll grow the circle of people that you know. And then when you go to a seminar, it won't just be the people, or a shiai or a tournament. It won't just be the people that you normally practice with there. Obviously, it'll be, you know, and sorry, I'm losing my sort of train here. It's not that the circle of people, when you go to the shiai, your circle of people won't be the only people you know. You'll know more people, and the whole situation will be overall less stressful for you. So definitely do that as well. Okay, hope that makes sense. Okay, next. I was wondering what the difference between bogu sets designed for shiai, shinsa, and regular keiko. On a side note, I couldn't help but picture Tony Stark with all his Iron Man suits when you mentioned your multiple sets of bogu. Okay, yeah, I am a little bit like that, but that's because of my work. I don't put anything on KendoStar.com that I'm not prepared to use myself or to stand by with myself. So I've actually experienced using all of the bogu sets on our website, and that's why they're on there. So yeah, at the minute I've got more bogu than I wish to kind of talk about. I've got a lot, and that's, like I say, it's so that I know them inside out, and I know how they feel to use, and I'm not just putting something up there having no experience of it, because that happens all too often in this industry. So in terms of the difference between sets for shiai, shinsa, and regular keiko, okay, the difference isn't that big. All right, it really isn't that big. Essentially, you can split it into this way. All right, if you want something that's you know, obviously lots of different, there is so many different bogu sets because they've all got a different sort of purpose, of course, in mind. But that doesn't mean that if you don't have a bogu set for that purpose, you can't do that activity, or you can't that it's going to be a hindrance for you in that activity. Absolutely not. There's no reason why you couldn't do that. It's just that they've had those concepts in mind when they've been designed or developed. So if I take the KendoStar line, for example, a shiai, let's say a shiai type bogu set, is something that's going to be very lightweight. So it's something that it might have a little less protection than some of the other sets because we've not got as much padding. What we never do at KendoStar though is take out so much padding that you're actually at risk of injury, which is something that you do see elsewhere with some very, very lightweight sets. Yeah, I mean, even our sort of shiai sets, our main ones are like the Victory is a Jisengata set, the Victory series. It's a really nice Jisengata set, very, very comfortable, and the Isamu as well. It's not that you couldn't use them for Keiko. You absolutely could use them for practice, and you could use them in the Shinsa as well, no problem whatsoever. Okay, it's just that when we were developing the actual design of it, kind of the idea of it being lightweight and kind of shiai focused was what was in mind. That's all. And then that moves on to like something like you say Shinsa, like a grading type thing. Something like the Kaisei, which is all some of the hand stitch sets. They use very high grade materials. They look very beautiful. They're not ornate, but they're like kind of prestige in terms of their appearance. Fully reinforced with real deer skin, stuff like that. Obviously, that's reflected in the price of them. But yeah, I mean, they're there for when you want to really present an absolutely beautiful appearance. That isn't to say that if you don't have one of those, you can't do a grading or you can't grade for certain levels. You absolutely could. You could take the Isamu set. And you could go and wear that at your 5th dan or 6th dan or 7th dan Shinsa. That's not going to be a problem. And then regular Keiko, we've got all-purpose sets like the Shinobu is a really good all-rounder because it takes bits from every part of those concepts. For example, the Shinobu set, it's got the protective cushioning of the hybrid stitching. It might not be quite as thick as something like the Vanguard or the Vanguard Prime, but it's still nice and protective. It hasn't got sort of how can I say? It's like the appearance of it is still quite because it's got the tighter stitching thanks to the hybrid stitching. It can be formed into a really nice shape. It's got a really, really nice appearance. Actually, I really love the look of that one. And it's really, really durable as well. So it's a great all-round set. And it's also lightweight. It's not super heavy. It's probably not as lightweight as something like the Isamu or the Victory. But again, it's like I mentioned yesterday. You're talking like 100 grams or something maximum. It's not an amount that's going to make a massive difference. It's not enough to give you a proper advantage, frankly. But yeah, I mean, something like that is great because it kind of fits all purposes. And then the Vanguard as well, the original Vanguard, I mean, that's obviously our best-selling set. And that very much the same. It's got the wider stitching on top, but it's got the tighter stitching on the mendare, so you can form it into that nice shape still, and you've got that durability. And yeah, I mean, that looks really great. There's loads of people that use the Vanguard set for shiai. There's national team members that use it for shiai, and they're using it for Keiko, they're using it for Shinsa. There's loads of people that use it for all sort of purposes as well, even though it's sort of designed around that concept of being protective. It is protective, but it's not heavy and it's not cumbersome in any way. So it's great for whatever purpose you want to use it for. And then you've got more sort of how can I say? I wouldn't say specialized, but a set like the Vanguard Prime that's got the guard stitch. It's like the hybrid stitch that we use on the Shinobu, but it's much wider. So you've got these massive cushions all over the set. That's actually my favorite set. It's the set I use almost all the time, and I use it for all sorts of things. I use it for Keiko for the most part. I even use it for shiai. The last shiai I was in, I think I used my Victory set. But I mean, I've got the luxury that I can choose. All right, I've got the luxury that I can choose to have all these different sets. And if you can choose to have different ones, or you just want to have different ones, that's totally fine. But it's not, I've used my Vanguard Prime in shiai before. And I've used it a couple of times in shiai actually, because I really love the bug set and I really like how it feels. It's just I'm just really attached to it. I really like it. I probably won't use it in my next grading because I actually I designed the kaisei specifically for my next grading for a start, and it was so good that I made it into a product. And plus, like I have used the Vanguard Prime so much since I got it, because I got it obviously months before it came out for sale, because I wanted to make sure that it was, you know, a good set. I needed to make sure that it was worn in, and I was really happy with it. I didn't want to change any of it before we sort of put it out there. So yeah, I mean, it's looking a little bit worn now. Now it's not worn really. It's just a little bit. I mean, I used it a lot. I've used it a lot so far. And if I'm going for my next grade, which is like a higher level grade, and I've got the choice of different bogu sets, I could perfectly use it. I could use it in my next grade. It's just I've got the choice not to. So I'll probably use something that just looks a little bit more prestigious, especially as I'm going for that sort of Kodansha level grade. So that's basically it, really. I'd say they're more subtle differences, all right? I think I really want to hit on, and what I really want to make sure is clear is, because even though we might say in the description or something that this has been designed with shiai in mind, or this is a Jissengata set, or this is really good for motodachi, or this is really good for grading, or this is all purpose, it doesn't mean that, okay, I bought this, I really like the victory set, but I want to use it in my grading, or I want to use it in my everyday keiko, and I can't do that. It doesn't mean that. You absolutely can. Okay, you absolutely can. You're not locked into it because you bought that specific set. You know, I don't like that idea that much of having just like a bogu set. Like at some of the companies I've worked for in the past, we've had bogu sets that were like really shiai orientated, and there was, you know, they weren't really great for using in everyday practice, especially the kote, because they were just like so thin. And yeah, they were light and they were really flexible, but if you were receiving uchikomi in that thing, it hurts, man. So yeah, I don't want to be, you know, I don't want bogu that's doing that. So whichever of the bogu sets you use, you can use it for any purpose. You really can. It's just some of them have got features that are geared towards different elements of kendo, which you might prefer to choose if you're finding yourself in that situation a little bit more than others. I guess that's the point. If that makes sense. So a bit of a jumbled explanation there. As always, I haven't sat down and really planned out this answer. I just read the question and reeled. But I hope it made sense. But if it didn't, then let me know down below. Okay. In general, what's the difference between Jodan and Jodan in terms of footwork? When I first learned about Jodan, I assumed that the only difference would be that the left foot is forward, so you have to launch with the right one and stamp the left. I've seen videos in which Jodan players do exactly that, so I thought my assumption was right. But now I've also seen a couple of videos in which Jodan players sometimes launch with the left foot and stamp the right once. Stamp the right one, crossing them in the process. What's up with that? To clarify, by Jodan, I mean Hidari Jodan no Kamae. Okay, so you're talking about left Jodan. Hidari Jodan is left Jodan. So normally, instead of Chudan, where they hold the Shinai, something like this, they're going to put their left leg forward, and the hand's going to come over the head, and they're going to be fighting this way. They're going to mainly be launching off their right leg. Obviously, they're not going to be sat in a chair like I am, but they're going to be launching from their right leg. They're going to be stamping with their left foot as they perform katate waza, or one-handed techniques, with the left hand, like this. So that's the basic idea of left Jodan. But there's nothing to say they're not allowed to cross their feet, or they're not allowed to switch their feet around and stuff like that. Of course they are, especially in this kind of back and forth of a tachiai or a shiai. So yeah, it's perfectly valid for the Jodan practitioner. And what they often do is they'll use it to cover the distance. So one of the advantages of katate waza is that you can cover a further distance than you can with two-handed strikes. Yeah. But sometimes what they like to do is they'll step through with their right leg like this, and it looks like they're coming for maybe a men strike with a katate men like this, and the opponent will try to block this. Maybe they're going to plan to do some sort of kaisi waza, and instead of actually launching this men, they'll step through with the right leg and they'll hit the kote as they're blocking like this. and stamp with the right foot. That's totally acceptable. It's totally acceptable. In the same way, it's acceptable, just not very useful. Maybe from Jodan to step through with the left leg and hit a like quite an old-fashioned technique you see in a lot of older kendo books. People would step through with the left leg and then hit a one-handed kind of yokomen. I think the katate hanmen it was often called. It's perfectly viable. There's no hard and fast rules that say, okay, if you step through, that's hand soccer or something like that. Nothing like that happens. It's perfectly viable to do that if you have the ability. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I hope I've answered that anyway. Okay, next one. Hey Andy, how are you? I'm very well. Very busy, but getting there. Thank you for asking. A quick question today. I know that practicing Kendo for a long time develops our muscle differently, legs, arms, and torso. What could be your advice for us to compensate exercises to even out our left and right side of the body? Okay, so yeah, it does happen. We tend to sometimes get sort of work one side more, especially if you do, like, it depends. I mean, unless you're doing tons of practice, you're probably not going to experience it that much. And when I say tons of practice, I mean like 5 days a week for a couple of hours. If you're doing that, then yeah, and you're only doing Kendo and not doing any other sort of training, then yeah, you'll probably develop muscles in your left leg differently to your right leg. But for the most part, where you practice sort of once or twice a week for a couple of hours, I think you probably won't find a massive difference. But even if you do, it can be counteracted obviously with exercise. You can be working out, going down the gym, and it's really important that you try and balance your sort of strength capabilities on both sides as much as possible, so that your body can be in balance. Because I think I'm no expert on this sort of thing, but like if you're sort of out of balance, you've got too much power on one side and not enough on the other. I think that's kind of that leads to the potential for all sorts of injuries and weird stuff going on. So yeah, it's just a case of like working out really to try and do it. But I don't think it's something that's going to affect the majority of people unless you're sort of practicing an awful lot at an elite level. Even myself, when I was sort of participating in lots of shiai in my sort of really competitive career, even then, I wouldn't say that I noticed a massive difference in the way that my body was changing, I guess, as I sort of worked towards. But then again, I was going down the gym and stuff. I was hitting the weights and stuff, and I was doing it all equally. All right. So yeah, I guess I hope that makes sort of sense. Okay, Andy, I've had issues with the Tsukagawa stretching to the point where the Shinai becomes awkward to use because the grip has become too long from tightening the tsuru once or twice a month. This would be a 6-month-old Shinai that are regularly maintained. Is there a reason for this and a way to extend the life of my grip? Or is it just that the leather fittings and the Shinai I have could be a bit too stretchy? They're not from KendoStar, by the way. Okay. I'm not going to take that opportunity to say that KendoStar Shinai are really, really good, because they speak for themselves. So, no, but basically, what you're probably finding is it could be a couple of things. First off, yeah, it can be the leather fittings on the Shinai, especially as you did put another comment underneath about the Nito-ryu as well, saying that the Nito-ryu are very, very stiff on these Shinai. When you say stiff, I'm assuming that you mean the leather itself is stiff and not that it's tied tightly. That's probably a sign that it's kind of the lower quality leather. There's actually different types of leather used for the Tsukagawa and the Shinai fittings. There's actually 3, but like you don't really see the third one very much. And it basically I'm not going to go into too much detail, but basically it comes from when they actually get the leather and they split the hide, and then there's the bit on the inside and the bit on the outside. The bit on the inside that was against the muscle of the animal is it's called the tokogawa, the toko, which is the lower quality leather, and the outside one, which is was sort of exposed to the elements and stuff. It's got a smooth touch to it. Well, it on the outside it's got a smooth touch, but on the inside it's still got that sort of fuzzy thing. That's called gin leather, and basically the gin is the better one, and that's the best one to use for the Shinai fittings, but it's very expensive. Actually, not many Shinai come with the actual gin leather. Most of them come with the high quality toko leather, and there's basically it's very, very similar actually to the gin leather. In fact, they even call it gin fu. It's like, which means like not synthetic, but like I hesitate to use the word fake, but that's kind of what it means, like fake gin. But it's the toko leather, it's the inside leather, but it's a better cut of it. And that stuff's pretty good as well, especially considering the cost performance of it. The majority of decent Shinai use that, but some cheaper Shinai, like really cheap Shinai, tend to use just the basic tokogawa, and that's the stuff that can be pretty stretchy, and it can tear pretty quickly as well. So it could be that's to do with it, right? It could be the quality of the fittings, especially if they were really, really cheap Shinai, or from like I feel like I'm complaining a lot about other suppliers, and I don't mean to. I don't want to do that. It's not really what I want to be doing. It's just like some of these questions end up leading in that direction. But I didn't make it that way. You know what I mean? They did it to themselves. But the other suppliers, I mean. But anyway, it could be the leather quality. Secondly, it could be that the way you're holding the Shinai. If your right hand's quite tightly holding the Shinai, that can actually you can actually be sort of stretching it in this way if you've got too much tension on the way you hold the Shinai. That's actually a potential thing as well. It's funny. It's something I used to find happening to myself. I used to find that the Skagao would stretch over time, but actually it doesn't happen to me so much anymore. It does a little bit, I guess, but again, there's always going to be some. Even you get the best quality Shinai leather, it's always going to stretch a bit, right? Because it's leather, and you're going to start getting it wet and stuff. So of course, it's always going to stretch. But the ones that stretch loads tend to be the cheaper ones. So yeah, you're always going to get it. But I feel like these days mine don't tend to stretch that far. And I'm pretty sure it's down to the way that I hold the Shinai over the years as my tenuchi has improved. The way I hold the Shinai has improved. I think that's part of it as well. So I'd sort of have a think about that too. It could be something to do with the technique, and it could also be something to do with the leather. Best thing to do is, obviously, you don't necessarily have to write off the Shinai. You can just replace the Tsukagawa with a better one if you wanted to. Okay. Okay, final one, and then that's it for me. Oh, why do I have to get these questions? It's a fair question. No. I'm not complaining about the question. It's a good question. It's a really good question. It's just an awkward question for me to answer without upsetting people, because that's not what I want to do. It's a really it shouldn't be an inflammatory one, but it is. Andy, what is your opinion of Nito-ryu? Effectiveness, relevance in shiai, and its place in kendo as a whole. I knew this was going to come. Okay. Right, so what's my opinion of Nito-ryu? What's my opinion of Nito-ryu? My opinion of Nito-ryu is that when it's done, my opinion of Nito-ryu, I'm going to try and figure out how to phrase this properly. My opinion of Nito-ryu is that it's conceptually, it's not very much different to Ito. Okay, it shouldn't be. It should be just from the point of view of concepts, the way it's it should be the same. In practice, I think that doesn't often happen, and I think that outside of Japan, Nito-ryu is a little bit overrepresented. I think that it's I think people rush into practicing Nito-ryu before they're ready to, and the result is that there's a lot of people that don't do it correctly, and as a result, the kind of overall quality of Nito-ryu around the globe kind of sinks a little bit, because there's so many people that are just kind of dabbling at it or giving it a go. Now, problem with Nito-ryu is that it's very, I don't want to say it's very difficult, because so is Ito, to be honest. It's pretty patronizing to say it's very difficult. I mean, the problem with it is that it isn't something that you just go, okay, well, I think I'll have a go at that. It's not. It's like any aspect of Kendo. If you want to do Kendo properly, as the AJ, the All Japan Kendo Federation, intend for us to do Kendo, then you're not supposed to do something like Nito-ryu or Jodan or anything like that because it's fun. It's not to say it's not fun. There's nothing wrong with it being fun, but that isn't the purpose of it. And the problem is many people get into doing Nito-ryu, and this is not everyone, of course, absolutely not, because I know some people, I know several people personally, outside of Japan, I'm talking. I don't know many Japanese Nito players, to be honest. Like, I know one, I think. Like, it's super rare in Japan, super rare. But yeah, I know a handful of people outside of Japan that are Nito-ryu exponents who I very much respect, especially both their ability and their dedication to, and their commitment to Nito and its preservation and its continued enrichment. There's several people, both in Europe and America, actually, that I think are very important figureheads in Nito, and I respect that a lot, and I'm grateful for them in their efforts in Kendo. But unfortunately, there's also a lot of having a go at it when you're not ready to be having a go at it, and because of that, you're kind of taking it in the direction that it's not supposed to go in. So we know my opinion on Kendo's relationship to actual sword fighting, and I think the problem is people tend to get hold of Nito-ryu and tend to link it back to sword fighting. Think, okay, well, now I'm super effective. I'd be a really good sword fighter. And I don't think that that's how Nito-ryu is supposed to be interpreted in modern Kendo. It's supposed to be another vehicle. Well, it's not another vehicle. It's supposed to be just another part of the vehicle towards self-improvement. It's not supposed to be a way of winning sword fights, just like Ito isn't. So I think the problem is, like I say, is that if you take on Nito a little bit too early, and you don't get yourself in, and I'm not saying that you have to be a certain level to be allowed to do it. You shouldn't have to be a certain level, but what you have to be ready for is the commitment to it. So the problem is lots of people. I started a lot of sentences with the problem is. There's a lot of problems with it. That's why. A lot of people sort of decide they're going to take up Nito before they're really, I believe, fully committed to Kendo itself. So before they're really fully committed to Kendo itself, they start to take on something as heavy as Nito that requires even more sort of commitment and dedication. And that's why it tends not to end well, and they end up just sort of playing around, and they're kind of missing the point. So yeah, I believe that it's only as effective as Ito. When you said effectiveness and relevance in shiai, I wouldn't say it's any more effective than Ito. It could be argued it's less effective. Hence, the All Japan champion isn't a Nito player. We don't see it very often in high level Japanese shiai. And its place in Kendo as a whole is it's extremely it's extremely important, its place in Kendo as a whole, because it represents a very important element of Kendo's history, and its sort of relationship to to Kenjutsu, I guess, which is I mean, I don't know much about Kenjutsu, so I don't like to talk about it that much. I'm just flicking through this guide for Kendo instruction because I do remember that there is a piece in this about Nito, and it does talk about how Nito is important as a it's kind of an important cultural aspect of Kendo, which I really do subscribe to as well. So I can't come to it right now, but see if it's in the index. But yeah, I mean, the thing is I guess I'm starting to ramble again. But that's where I fall on it, really. I joke with my mates sometimes that it's like I wish people would give it up. And it's just like it's just kind of banter, that sort of thing. I don't really think that. I just think that because, like I say, there's people that I know on a personal level that I really, really respect the way that they do their Kendo, and it's not separate. It's not, the Kendo that they do is not separate because it's Nito. It's still Kendo. But what I wish people would quit is the kind of having a go at Nito and then doing something that isn't really what Kendo is about, which becomes about hitting and blocking, which isn't what we're supposed to be doing. So yeah, so I've just looked up Nito no Kamae at the back here in the glossary of this book, but it doesn't really say anything. It just describes what Nito is. But there's definitely a passage in here about it. I should have looked it up before I started filming, but I didn't. So yeah, sorry about that. If you've got this book though, it's definitely, I'm sure it's in here somewhere. So yeah, other than that, I think that's where I'm going to stop on the Nito question before I get too sort of weird about it. But yeah, check this book out, by the way, if you haven't got it already. We've got it on KendoStar.com. They just come back into stock, but I think we're already about to run out of stock. So if you want one, snap them up quick. We will get more in again, but we can't just get loads of these at once because we've got to get them from the All Japan Kendo Federation in Japan, and they don't give us a load. But we've got other books as well. It's on KendoStar under Kendo Accessories Books. So go and check them out. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Leave me a comment, question, whatever you want to talk about next time. I'll definitely look at them. Kendo Show Early Access Group. Make sure you're in that group. There's a link in the description. It's free to join, and it's a great place for discussion. And that's where I post all of the Kendo Show instructional videos before I post them anywhere else. Finally, I think you know what's coming. Make sure you do your shopping at KendoStar. It's the Halloween sale at the minute, and it's ending tomorrow. I can't believe it's already the 31st of October tomorrow, and that's going to be the end of a lot of the discounts that we've got. There's some great deals. The V1 bogu set, what a brilliant bogu set, especially if you're just starting out in Kendo. If you're just starting out in Kendo, you're looking for a first bogu set, check out the V1. It's an absolutely great value bogu set at the moment. I think it's 30 or 35% off, something like that. Right now it's like, for what it is, it's got loads of the features of the original Vanguard. It's really protective, it's really comfortable. I'm actually using this set myself. I'm rotating it in and out of my own practice because it is just so comfortable. But yeah, I mean, it's great for beginners. If you've got beginners in your club, they're looking for bogu. If you're a beginner, definitely check that one out. The KendoStar Shinai is on sale. We've got the Chikara Jisengata Dobari Shinai. If you want a really lightweight, fast Shinai, check those out as well. And the Gaia Hakama, it's the best Hakama I've ever worn. Absolutely love it. It's impossible to destroy the pleats in it, and you get free Kendogi if you buy it before the end of the month. So check all those deals out at KendoStar.com. Thanks a lot for watching, folks. Sorry it was a bit rambly today. I am sort of a bit all over the place with a lot of different things at the minute. Things are super busy with the sale we've got on, and I should have prepared a little bit more for this chat, but I didn't. Won't get a video out tomorrow, but I'll try and get another one out on Thursday or Friday. See you again next time.